Yeah, hello and welcome back to episode 3.
Oh, we already started?
Yeah, I went straight in.
I know.
Welcome to the Mindful Mixtape with your hosts Dr. Ranj Sagu and Jati Chi.
How you doing? You okay?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. I think it's gloomy now, isn't it? It's gloomy outside, so it's just a different part of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets a bit difficult sometimes in the horrible, gloomy, rainy, wet, cold.
And then you don't really get to see the sun.
No. And that affects people sometimes, doesn't it? It's, you wake up in the dark. You go to work in the dark, come home in the dark. You feel the cold, you feel the wet, and yeah, it's.
So how do we stay lifted in this dark times?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's focusing on positives, isn't it?
I was thinking more about the Philips Hue light. Have you seen that? It's called Daylight or something like that. Philips.
Oh, you can get these what they call SAD lights. Have you heard of SAD?
I think that's it. Philips SAD light.
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder. So it's basically depressive symptoms that happen during this type of year for some people.
So the light is gonna cheer you up.
So the basically for some people when it's dark and gloomy all the time, it affects their mood, and it's to do with your body's normal
circadian rhythm.
That's it,
mate. Yeah, I know stuff. I do. Yeah,
I'll try and look for the for the layman's term, but you're already there. So so basically it's your circadian rhythm, and what that helps to do is tries to kind of reset that so it fits the normal routine of what we'd normally be experiencing. And that helps to kind of lift your mood. So it's all about your different hormones, so your cortisol rising in the morning, and your melatonin at nighttime, which helps you sleep.
So things like I hear like candles and things like that. Natural light is good for the evening or throughout the day. I put a little candle next to me today.
Okay, yeah, in the evening. So we're supposed to be doing so keeping the sort of the bright lights away from us. So especially kind of the hour to 2 hours before we go to sleep. You want to reduce the amount of this blue light that we get. So the bright white lights. It's and you probably see it on your phones. You get a blue light filter that you can use, and it's to filter out those kind of really intense lights that basically stop you from feeling sleepy, because it suppresses your melatonin levels, keeps your cortisol levels high, which stop you from sleeping. So
it's like it's faking the day, kind of like.
Kind of. It's just sort of upsetting your pattern, so you lose that rhythm that we're supposed to, that we all kind of, live with or should be living with.
Does that pattern really matter?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But is it, if everything else is kind of I'm trying to think fake. Not fake, like it's a kind of man-made. Why can't we just hack our body to kind of adjust to it?
Hack in what sense do you mean?
Like kind of, if that light is going to keep me awake, then if I want to stay awake, then that's a good thing. Are you looking at me right now?
No, I was going to say, but yeah.
And then if I want to go to sleep, or I don't know, I'm just trying to think. In this day and age, everything's man-made. Why can't we use it to our advantage? Just being a bit of a knob.
Because there isn't an easy way to sort of turn things on and off.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. So we're so used to turning things off, if you like. So our sleep routines. This is why obviously a lot of people have problems with sleep, because we're so used to looking at TV screens. We're so used to looking at our phones late at night. That's what's disrupting, part of the reason what's disrupting our sort of sleep patterns and things. And then, but it's not so easy to just say, okay, I'm going to turn it all off and everything's going to go back to normal. So it doesn't quite work like that. I thought today's topic, we were going to talk about being physically active.
Yeah, okay, let's do that then.
All right.
As long as you're physically active, then you can go to sleep well. So
that will help. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That's all part of it. It's, it's kind of going back to what it's a good point. It's everything holistically, isn't it? So, your sleep is part of what we need to talk about. And obviously, we're going to come back to that in a different episode.
We might come back to it later on.
Back to it later on. Actually, it is important because how you time being physically active in terms of if you're doing exercise and things is important for your sleep as well. So that.
Okay, so we didn't cover off. How are you?
How am I? Yeah, I've been good. Just briefly, this was supposed to be a week off from work. Okay. So I had it all planned out where I've got a few assignments and things I should have been doing. But then my son's been poorly, so he's been at home with me all week.
Okay.
So that kind of went out the window. Obviously, I've been looking after him, but doing the positives from it. I got to spend time a week with my son, which is great. Playing computer games.
Nice.
Which was fun.
What's your favourite game?
So we've been playing Smash Brothers.
I don't know what that is.
Super Mario Smash Brothers.
Okay, all right.
And Fortnite.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I didn't think Fortnite was still happening, but...
Oh, yeah.
Is it still going on?
It's still a thing. Well, if the kids are playing it, then, yeah, it's a thing. But anyway. But the important thing is I still managed to be able to get away yesterday to play football. So that was going to be my kind of segue into being physically active.
Okay, cool. Did you win?
Unfortunately not.
Well, it's not about winning.
We lost by 1 goal, but it was a close game.
It's about taking part that counts.
And winning.
No, I say it's about actually getting physical.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's what
it's being active. It's and the good thing about football is it's being with friends and other people, and that kind of team, sort of camaraderie and kind of meeting up with people that you might not normally meet up with, but you're again able to kind of get together and play some sports.
Okay.
So yeah, it was good fun. So today we were going to talk about physical activity and look at kind of why it's important for us.
So I think the one topic I'm dreading, to be honest, because
okay.
I don't think I do enough of it.
Sure. Okay. Tell me about it. What do you mean?
I think it's something that isn't in my timetable.
Okay.
I try to. I have. I think in my previous roles at work, maybe kind of giving myself some time to go for a walk.
Yeah.
On a call that I know that I don't need to present or talk on. I'm mostly listening, so I could get away with a walk. And it's difficult now. It's not that situation. And I think in the evenings, as we said, it's dark. Even if the sun, I think if the weather was better, I'd go for a walk in the evening. There's a nice route that I've got 2 routes that are, and maybe even 3, like a short, medium, and a long route.
Yeah.
That, depending on my time. But the long route it's like a little creek, and it's dark, so it's a bit scary. It's a bit scary. So yeah, I'd rarely do that in the winter unless I could do it in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of them things you try to incorporate. But it takes a back seat when things are happening around.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting because that's what we're going to talk about today. Is we are all busy and busier nowadays, and it's how do you incorporate that into your daily life, but also talk about what kinds of physical activity. What do we mean by physical activity? That's the first thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, physical and then being active.
And then being active, yeah, absolutely.
So just
right.
moving around anyway.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
Be it a sport or go for a walk, picking the kids up.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I prefer using the term physical activity. I hate the word exercise.
Yeah, that sounds... Yeah, it's a negative word, man.
But it is that. Do you know what I mean? For so many people, as soon as you start using the word exercise, it feels like...
Feels hard work.
It feels hard work. It does. It feels like a chore rather than, you doing something for the good of it and for.
Yeah, you say exercise. I think of jogging, like active way and like doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if you say physical activity, I think going for a walk, taking the dog for a walk,
absolutely
doing whatever.
Yeah. And for me, as soon as you say exercise, it's like going to the gym. You know what I mean? And then, and again, that's what makes it feel like hard work, because it's like, it's a specific thing you have to do, and it has to be at a certain time, and you have to physically go there, and so it's all of those kind of
loads of layers, and really the loads of barriers,
exactly, and that's what it turns into, doesn't it? And it's quite interesting, because a lot of people will do that. Will say, "Oh, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to exercise," and in the first week or two, it might be, "Yeah, this is really good," but then all of those barriers start to come into play. Oh, do I really have to go there? I have to drive there after work. I need to get my gym kit. Do you know what I mean? All of those things start to become barriers, and then they become frustrations, which is, something we'll come on to later, but it's how those sorts of, when we put that kind of pressure on it, it's not sustainable. Unless,
people that go to the gym, that's a lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's, again, something we'll talk about is, it's physical activity, and it's finding the one or the exercise. Sorry, not exercise. The physical activities that you're gonna enjoy doing.
Yeah.
For the long term. So if going to the gym is your thing, then absolutely that's perfect. But if it's if team sports is your thing, or going for walks, or or whatever activities, and literally physical activity just means it's using your muscles, your body's muscles, to expend energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's all it means. So it's doing something more than just sitting and doing nothing, which is in itself is a bit dangerous. So physical inactivity,
yes,
or alternatively being sedentary, is dangerous to our health.
Yeah, I thought you said sedimentary.
No.
It's a rock, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a type of rock. Well, you can use that as a metaphor. Yeah, if you're sitting there doing nothing, you might as well be just a...
So sitting down and doing nothing is obviously, I thought it would be a zero, like, it's you're not doing anything. But what you're saying is it's even worse. It's negative.
It's you're just using kind of baseline energy levels just to keep your body going.
Mm-hmm.
But what studies have found is that actually when you're sedentary, it in itself is an independent risk factor for other chronic diseases.
Okay.
And also, for kind of things like, long-term poor health and early death as well. So just being sedentary and spending most of your time sitting and not doing and not being active in itself is quite dangerous for us.
So is a desk job sedentary?
Yes, pretty much.
Even though you're typing or doing things, that's not enough.
It's not enough, no. And but that's part of the problem is, our society now is most of us are sitting at desks. Even worse now, obviously a lot of people are working from home, which makes things even more difficult because you're not having to.
Yeah, and things like Zoom and Teams, it's built to not move.
Exactly.
Before you would go to a meeting from one room to another, you'd travel to another building. Yeah. Now you're sitting there one after the other, bang, bang, bang. Yeah. So you don't ever get a chance to move.
Yeah. So I've got some stats for you, if you like, on sort of being sedentary. So 31% of the global population of over 15-year-olds does insufficient levels of physical activity. And this contributes to 3.2 million deaths per year.
So are we saying that long term kind of that's what happens if people don't move enough?
Yeah.
That's
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if people are obviously over their lifetimes, if they're not being physically active, it's going to contribute to more ill health, more chronic diseases, your diabetes, heart disease, strokes and all those sorts of things, and lead to kind of early deaths.
Can I take it out of that kind of? I'd like to take a bit of a guess. Really, I'd like to say most of it is Western world.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I've got a couple of stats on that as well, if you like. So this is about in America. Americans spend 55% of their waking time, so that's equivalent to about 7.7 hours being sedentary.
That's a work day.
Pretty much, yeah. So that kind of comes back to the fact that most people are just either sitting at a desk or sitting at home working, and it's all time spent sitting down.
It's all bad time.
Yeah. And here's another one. Europeans spend 40% of their leisure time, so it's about nearly 3 hours watching TV.
Okay, we got Netflix to blame for that.
Not just Netflix, but obviously there's so much emphasis now, isn't there, on television and all of these other forms of entertainment.
Digital media.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it obviously it's how you kind of break out of those pressures, and kind of the way society is living now.
Yeah, I want to say it's a normal thing, or it's become normal. Maybe it's normal for me. I don't think I watch 3 hours of TV, but I do watch TV. You know what? I probably do.
I know.
I'm just thinking about it now.
Yeah, easily.
Like, you probably think, if I calculate it myself, I probably think I watched this or that. But then you forget you watch stuff with your family. So that's another
absolutely
hour at least.
Yeah.
And then your phones as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And, it's so easy to do. Like, you can watch one episode of a series and then they leave it on a cliffhanger. Like, gee, let's just watch the next one. Before you know it, 2-3 hours is gone.
Very easily, yeah.
So that's just to kind of show how sedentary, the world is, especially like, say, the Western population. And, there's so many factors behind that. And like you say, digital media is a big one, home working, and even office working are big factors. I mean, if I relate that to my own practice, again, being a GP, a lot of time is spent sitting at your desk, obviously seeing patients. So little things that I do in terms of, trying to not sit down for too long is, for each patient, I'll go and greet them at the door. Yeah, it's a few steps, but it keeps me getting up in between patients. And then
I was hoping you were going to say you do some squats in between.
I'd looked, actually, one of my colleagues, he's great. He's got an exercise bike in his room.
Okay.
So when he has...
he's talking to you. So what's wrong?
That's
He's
right,
just cycling away.
No, obviously in between surgeries, he might do a bit of exercise. He's got a standing desk as well, which is quite good. So there are things that you can do. So
just quickly about standing desk, isn't that sedentary still because you're just standing? If
you're thinking about kind of muscle use, it's energy expenditure, isn't it? When you're sitting, obviously your muscles, your leg muscles, your core muscles aren't doing as much to keep you standing. Obviously, it's a smaller amount of extra energy expenditure, but anything you can do is better, and you're more likely to move around as well when you're standing rather than you're sitting down. Okay, so in terms of, let's just talk about kind of physical activities that we do or don't do, our own experiences with physical activity. Do you want to? Is there anything that you like doing or don't like doing? You mentioned walking earlier.
I do like a walk.
Okay.
I think walking is a good one. You can stick a podcast on or something. I think podcasts more now. I think because music I do as well. Like you get fed up of music, so you just want to listen to something. I find myself also putting on a TV show and listening to it whilst I walk or do something, because it's like watching TV, but it's not. It's kind of, maybe it's the better version of watching TV, because it's still being active but still getting that content. Because I'm not watching it, I'm just kind of listening to it.
Okay.
So nothing that needs visually to look to follow storyline. So But yeah, I like walking. I do. To be honest, I've said it a few times now at home. I'm trying to get my family, me, my wife, and my daughter to go play badminton.
Okay.
I like badminton.
Yeah.
We used to play before we had my daughter. So and I think with the three of you can kind of swap and keep it kind of going. So one of them ones is nothing near us. There probably is. I need to look a bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck at that initial barrier of just planning it in, but it's something I'd like to do because it just keeps everybody active. I know like kids are active at school, so they're doing PE and they don't know how good they got it.
Yeah.
You know, all these activities that they get to do, even playtime, man, running around.
Yeah.
Like I wish somebody said you have 15 minutes.
Just run around as much as you can. Yeah,
run around in your garden and then come back. Yeah, I don't know about any other football. I did try a few years ago.
Okay.
Because I used to play at school. That was the last time I played at school.
Yeah.
Then fast forward 25 years, and then you're trying to keep up with people that play regularly.
Of course.
It's quite difficult. But I think it's good if you you go every week.
Yeah, I mean it's something we picked up again a few months ago. Because I've always played football, and it's. Sort of being a big football fan myself, obviously, and you know, growing up at school, playing in the school team and then the college team, and that it's, you know, football was a big part of my life. Then obviously going to university and working, that I didn't play football for quite a long time, and then actually it was just before COVID, we kind of picked it up again just with a group of friends, and it was really good, really enjoyable. And again, it's picking up with friends from back in college who hadn't seen in a very long time. So it's again, it was that being able to reconnect with people, and yeah, so that was really good. And then obviously lockdown came, and you weren't allowed to play sports in groups, and obviously we stopped that for a couple of years. And I really felt it. You know, I really felt I was missing it. So being able to restart it again, probably I think we started again in. Early part of this year, March, April time, and it's been amazing. Yeah, going back to playing football. So football is a big sport for me, but I like running as well.
Okay.
And that's something I'd never thought I'd pick up, because at school I hated running.
I think it's quite pointless. So you'll have to explain. You'll have to explain to me why.
Okay. Well, thing is, I picked it up. Again, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and the reason I picked it up then was because I was kind of influenced into kind of training for a 10K,
okay,
and you know, to do it for charity. And so then I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to start training for this, and it was hard to begin with. You know, so for someone who, apart from you know, sort of playing football and that, you know, but it's not running. Yeah, you know, running for 10 kilometers straight is not easy, especially if you've never started before.
Yeah.
So, but what I found was, for me, running, you know, kind of always brought me that sort of impression of running on a treadmill, which is, you know, absolutely boring. You just kind of facing one direction and only, you know, just getting bored looking in one direction. Then I started road running.
Okay.
And I started going at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Absolutely amazing. The feeling you get, because it's crisp, cold air. It's peaceful. It's so quiet out at that time. You might get the odd car here and there, but it's literally you outside. And depending on what time of year, like if you're out in the winter, I actually like that, because it's the cold actually kind of wakes you up, and I like that feeling. And then obviously you warm up as you're running, so you don't feel it so much. But in the summer, it's really nice as well, because obviously you get the early sunrise, so you might go out when it's dark, but as you're running, you can see the sunrise, hear the birds in the trees. It's amazing, and you know, you find that for me, it's that kind of personal alone time as well, where it's sometimes you think about things, but most of the time you just kind of, you're in your own world, and you're not even thinking about anything. You're just enjoying the running. You enjoy being in tune with your breathing as well when you're running. It just feels amazing.
So there must be. I'm trying to get on board here. So there must be a technique of running. I can't just start running. Like if you said go start running,
yeah,
I'm gonna be like finished by the end of the.
No, that's how I was when I first started. I'd probably go round the block once, and I'd be huffing and puffing, and everything will be hurting, and it wasn't great. But I just kind of slowly built it up. There probably is real techniques to running. I haven't done any research into it. I just kind of found my own rhythm to it. And
I think the way you describe breathing, like, if you get that under control, you'd enjoy it. You gain the right amount of air, energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there is that. Yeah. You do find, even if you've been running for a while, it does take a little while. And I found this is like, the first kind of half a kilometer to a kilometer, you are always kind of finding your rhythm, finding your breathing rhythm. And then once that's in tune, you feel like you can just go for ages.
Why do runners why don't they look happy when they're running?
It's a good question.
You said it's so enjoyable that no one's smiling when they're running. They're they're looking like they're being punished.
Okay.
And I think that's the way I look at it. Like, and if you look at it, that's a punishment. Anyway, they probably are enjoying it inside somewhere.
So for me, I mean, like I said, football, running, to that I like to mix things up. I like, so I will do some weights and that at home. I like doing kind of HIIT exercises, so HIIT sessions, and I just follow stuff on YouTube. You can pick and choose. There'll be like 15-minute sessions, half an hour sessions, an hour session. So there's a lot available. And the important thing for me is, like I said, I like to have that variety. I can't do the same thing all the time. That's another thing that will kind of, lead to not sustaining exercise for me. I have to kind of keep things mixed up.
I think things that I have liked is a sport.
Okay.
I used to play squash, and that was, as long as there's the competitive element or a game that you're playing, you don't mind putting that energy and the effort. It's just, that's why I think running, I'd have to really make a game of it. I'm sure there's an app, and it's like a game. Like when you're running, you have to hit certain markers. If there ain't one, mate, somebody should be out there making it. Like when you go through like a car game, and you have checkpoints. Like if you just said, I'm gonna run this route, and it'd say next checkpoint, go through. Man, this is a really good idea. This is. I wish. I
kind of use the apps like Map My Run, and I, again, obviously it's not to a competitive, but you do get competitive sometimes because you want to. You see what your 10K time was, and you're like, next time I'm going to beat that. You see what your speed was. You say, my average speed, I want to get that higher. So there is that element to it. But that'd be wicked if you had like virtual rings and things to run through.
Yeah, you just need like eyeglass or whatever it is, and just keep on running. And
not a bad idea,
This is going to happen.
Yeah,
we made the idea.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so obviously that's kind of our own experience of physical activity and the things that we like doing and don't like doing, and the things that we obviously don't like doing can be kind of barriers to us. Just generally, what do you think are barriers to being active? And we have talked about it, some of it already. Obviously, like things like work and that, but
Yeah. So one is your time.
Yeah.
That's a barrier because you either don't have the time or there isn't enough time. Like when you said them HIIT exercises you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you can pick different times, so you could do short, long, medium, whatever. For me, I did do one of these classes, something on YouTube, and it was really good. It was like a bit of it was like a hip hop.
Okay, like a Zumba class.
Was it like a hip hop version of it? So
yeah.
it was quite funny because I was like doing some hip hop dance moves, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I did it downstairs in the living room.
Yeah,
but the other barriers.
We might get you to record some of these moves, and
nobody wants to see that. Yeah, so I did it once, and it was really good. My wife was sitting there watching me do it. My daughter was I think she was watching me. But the thing is, I did it once and I enjoyed it, but I never did it again because it took up too much time. It was like I didn't have the space in the house, so I did it in a communal space.
Yeah. So
that's another barrier now. Now I can't go there and do it again because I'm stopping everybody from doing their thing.
Yeah.
So yes, I do have a conservatory. I got other spaces, but I don't have a big TV there. And maybe just a setting. So either you got to downgrade it and go, I'm just going to watch it on my phone or put it on a tablet, laptop, follow it through there. Or buy a bigger house, which is going to cost a lot, really.
Yeah. No, but you're right. All of these things then start to become barriers, don't they? There's a psychological element to that as well,
And another barrier for maybe someone like me is just getting that starting level. Like, am I fit enough to even run one block?
Yeah.
You're saying just go around the block and measure it.
Yeah.
I might not even make it once.
Yeah. Does it matter though? When you first start out?
I think it matters because you do get demotivated. Like you think, I can't even achieve a standard. Can't even get to that zero.
Yeah.
To even build.
Okay.
I'm at minus. Maybe you're right. I could look at it. I was minus 10 before. Now I'm minus 5.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer.
There you go. It's how you look at it, isn't it? It's like, if you're going from, again, like we said, being sedentary, not doing anything. It's where's your level of expectation?
I think that I think if you start your activity with that in your head, this is better than sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah,
and then anything's good.
Yeah. No, it's right. We'll come on to that, in terms of how we can, kind of introduce physical activity into our lives. But just talking about barriers, obviously. So you talked about time. Time's huge, isn't it? But in context, time is small. We're all don't have enough time to fit these things in. Work takes up so much of your time. And then obviously you got to think about family life, spending time with the kids, spending time with your partner, your normal household responsibilities as well, cooking, cleaning, taking out the rubbish, all of those things take up your time.
And I think, I don't know if anybody else is going to agree in my house, but if I went to I could go to the gym. I could go to the gym every evening, or I could make a plan, or something. But then that's time away from my family as well. And I feel that. It's easy to make that lifestyle when you don't have a family, you don't have children. You could just say, I'm going to go gym 5 times a week. I'm going to go there because you've got nothing else going on. But when you think, even sitting down and it's a bad thing. Watching TV together, is time with the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you think, I'd rather be doing this with people than hitting the gym. It's a hard one because as I'm saying it sounds really stupid.
But that's the dilemma that you're constantly going through, isn't it? And you're right, you do feel it. If me going to play football once a week with my friends is probably about as much as I could do. Or started off actually doing it twice a week, but then that to me felt too much. So you're absolutely right. And but then you say spending that time with your family then becomes, let's sit down and watch a TV program, which on one side it's not being active and not entirely great for your health, but it's that time connecting with your family, if you can call it connecting.
Yeah, and I think that's where that kind of family badminton thing came up.
Yeah.
Because we're doing both then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a brilliant idea. That is that bonding time with the family. And it's not just all sitting there quietly, passively watching a TV program. It's being active, enjoying doing an activity together, You're all kind of, there is that little bit of competitive element to it, and again, it's for your health as well.
I just want to touch on when you said passive TV watching.
Okay.
Because you're right. I heard this somewhere else, and I kind of did think about it. Like, maybe it was when we were talking about quality time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're sitting with people and you're watching TV,
mm-hmm.
yes, it is passive. Yes, you're not really communicating. But off the back of that program, depends what you watch. I think you will have conversations. It does trigger conversation. You do talk about it. Another time, dinner, breakfast, or something funny happened. Oh, remember it happened in that thing. So it is a communal thing as well.
Yeah,
It isn't just always you're just ignoring the people you're with and watching TV.
Yeah,
you're building a community, something together. So I'm really promoting.
I know.
I thought about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's so many other elements to it as well, isn't there? Obviously, like if you think about it, if you spent a busy day at work and you come home and then you're like, I just don't have the energy to go out, go to the gym or go out for a run or do things like that. So that's kind of another barrier. Obviously, we talked about distractions as well. The digital media being a huge distraction for us. So there's so many different ones. Even finances as well. Obviously, we know cost of living now is kind of just exponentially increasing, isn't it? And this all comes into play, doesn't it, when you're thinking about starting a new activity? Because you're thinking, okay, what's the cost involved? If I'm going to go running, I need new running shoes. I need, I might want to buy some running gear. Well, gym membership. I know you can overthink it, and say, I need to do all this, or you can just go and do it.
It's similar to this podcast,
Yeah,
we could have spent thousands of pounds,
of course,
on creating this, or you just get on with it. Spend a bit of money.
You got to spend, because I can give you a good example. When I started running, I did exactly the same thing. I said, okay, I'm just going to go out and run. Obviously, I had the wrong trainers. And road running, you should really use proper running shoes. Makes a huge difference. Because off the back of that, I started getting knee problems. So I had to invest in some proper footwear. So yes, it's there. You do have to do things sensibly. Basic, there's a basis you have to start with. And I was going to say, in terms of barriers, all of the, this is quite interesting because all of these things become kind of psychological barriers, don't? Like you mentioned, even doing a HIIT workout at home, even thinking about, I don't have enough space to do it, or I'm taking up time from, from other family members who want to use that room, watch TV. It's putting me off from doing it. All of these things are often psychological barriers as well. And it comes back to that thing that we just said, was you can think about it and overthink it, or just go out and do it. It reminds me of, you heard of Mel Robbins?
No.
She's kind of another sort of coach and professional speaker, and she talks about the 5-second rule. You ever heard of that?
I heard when your food falls on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, too good. Yeah, that's what I tell the kids. Just pick it up quickly. You got 5 seconds.
There's 5 seconds because I'll pick it up.
Oh gosh. No, so the 5-second rule is basically whichever decision you need to make, you should do it within 5 seconds. You have 5 seconds.
I think I have heard this, yeah.
Yeah, before you start, your brain then starts to overthink it and put barriers in the way of doing it. I always liken it to, when your alarm goes off in the morning and you want to get up. Soon as it goes off and you turn it off, get up and get out of bed. If you lie there for a few seconds, you're like, oh, you know what? Can't be asked to get out of bed. Let's put the snooze on. So that, that's the kind of example. So as soon as, you have a decision to make that decision and do it. And if you don't do it straight away, within 5 seconds, so many different barriers are going to start to come up. You're going to start thinking, actually, I could do that later, or that's just, No,
but when you say make the decision, So if I came home and my decision was to go for a walk straight away, make it easy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get home, go for a walk. My decision could be no. In the next, so it's kind of making the right decision, because a decision could just be no, thank you. I don't
Well, yeah. So it's saying, okay, you're at home and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk. It's actually get up and do it now. So if you
maybe actioning the decision.
Okay, so action. So rather than actually giving yourself a choice of making a decision, so it's actually actioning that decision. So I'm gonna go for a walk. Okay, get up and go and do it. As soon as you start to stop and think, actually, the weather's a bit crap today. Feeling a bit tired. It's been a long day at work. All of those barriers will start to filter in. Your brain's going to start doing that to you. So that's why you should get up and do things kind of straight away.
Yeah. So I went Sainsbury's a few days ago.
Yeah.
And the way where I park my car is that entrance has stairs.
Okay.
But there's an escalator a bit further down. So
sure.
In order to get to the escalator, you got to walk a bit more.
Yeah.
And then you have an easy ride upstairs.
Yeah.
And I that's what I was thinking when I parked up. That's all I was thinking about. What am I gonna do? Which decision am I gonna make?
Okay.
And then as soon as I entered in the doorway, I just turned straight away. I went up the stairs, and I went like, that's what I'm doing. So
there you go.
In that sense, made the decision, and I just
and you just did it,
because I could have just gone, forget it, man. Just keep on walking, flat, and then go up the escalator.
Or you could have been, if you'd have thought about it for a bit longer, could have been like, actually, you know what? There seems to be a lot of stairs. My legs are aching. All of these little things. My back's aching. I'll just take the lift.
I think I'm at that age where sometimes when I run up the stairs, maybe I shouldn't run. When I'm running up the stairs, I do feel my knees or something like. But then some days I'm up it and I'm going, wow, like I feel young and strong. Yeah. So I think it's your experience as well that puts a barrier in certain things. When I did that last time, it wasn't good.
Absolutely.
The next day I was in pain, I was aching, or this happened. So you got to kind of block some of that experience and always try to give yourself another opportunity of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely. And part of it as well, barriers, obviously we talked about psychologically. But your mood and your mindset is such a, again, can create these barriers. That's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it? Is how you're feeling, and like you say, past experiences can influence how you're going to approach doing these things, and they become barriers. And sometimes, like you said there, if you've done it once and you had a bad experience, that kind of influences you negatively. Because sometimes I've felt it as well, where you've done too much exercise. Like going back to when I hurt my knee when I wasn't doing exercises properly, that influenced you thinking, actually, am I going to be able to carry on, or am I doing it properly now that I'm not going to continuing to injure my knee? And also sometimes you can really overdo it as well. I've done that sometimes, where you're doing so much, and then you're sacrificing other parts of your well-being, because obviously we talk about well-being holistically. So you sacrifice other parts, like like I said, I used to go for a run at 4:30 in the morning. But if you're going to sleep late and you're getting up early to go, then you're kind of sacrificing your sleep. And we often do this. We probably don't give sleep enough attention or the sort of the respect that it deserves, because that's when you need to rest and recover. So if you're overworking yourself and not getting the extra time to rest and recover, you're actually not going to feel better. And then that becomes frustrating, because you're like, I'm doing all this exercise, all this activity, and I'm not feeling the benefit that I want to be feeling from it. And then that can also then put you off from doing it. So, it's about, how kind of it can influence your mindset negatively as well.
I think having the balance, and then I think the one word we haven't used to this podcast is being mindful, and reflecting on what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
What's the outcome? Why are you doing it? All these things.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. That mindfulness element is a big part of how we make physical activity become not exercise, not a chore, but become part of our sort of, daily routine.
It's that internal conversation we have with ourselves.
Yeah. That's a nice way to put it.
It's kind of explaining, I should be doing this because, as I said, when you say things out loud and I talk to you, I think I've kind of answered it myself, or hang on a minute, if I just did this, I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's when you just voice your issue.
Yeah.
If you sit there and reflect yourself, call it meditation, call it giving yourself 5 minutes. People go for a smoking break. I'm not promoting smoking, but I'm just saying, people take out 5 minutes of the day. I don't know. I don't smoke, so I don't know if people do think about their life when they're smoking. But if you can take out 5 minutes and just kind of give yourself that time and kind of go, all right, I'm doing this, or just have that conversation, you can convince yourself the right thing. You can make that. It helps you make a better decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an important way of actually coming on to how do we incorporate being more physically active, or just how do we incorporate it into our lives, where it's, because we know it's important. We know being active is important. We've discussed that. It's kind of that, and we know the barriers to it as well. So if we know all that and we know what's stopping us, how do we then move away from that? How do we change our mindset? How do we change our outlook and make physical activity part of everything that we do?
That's the $1 million question. The thing is, it's, you have to buy into that idea.
Absolutely.
And how do we buy into it? That's the biggest kind of question. What's going to make you do it? At what level is it going to make you do it? So, as we said before, everybody knows all these right things. We should sleep well, eat well, get exercise. Instead, we want to stay up late, sit and watch TV, and eat rubbish. Yeah. How does it connect to you?
How do we? Yeah, I mean, I liken it to, everybody does this, and it's probably fitting now. It's almost New Year, and it's that.
Don't say it.
Yeah. You know what's coming. Oh, my New Year's resolution is to, is to lose weight or to get fit. And do you know why everybody fails when they say that?
Because it's a crap decision. Because they're doing it as a new, fresh beginning, but really it's every day. That decision, you shouldn't even have to wait until the new year. All right, go on, tell me.
No,
I'm going the wrong way.
No, you're right. You are right. It's basically, it's come back to that. You said it earlier. It's that buy-in. It has to. The decision you make has to align with you.
With your values.
With your values, absolutely. So me saying I'm it's my New Year's resolution. I feel I should lose some weight, or I should, I want to look better. But it's that why. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to look better? Or why do you want to lose the weight? So you have to get beneath all that, and you have to connect. That has to align with your values. What's important to you? Because just losing the weight isn't strong enough of a reason that you might start something, but like everybody does at New Year's, everybody joins a gym. How many people are using it 2 months down the line, 6 months down the line? They're not. It's only when it actually means something to you that you're going to carry on doing it. And this is something that I do when I'm coaching people. We look at their value. So I get a lot of people who come to me for kind of weight management, and it's always that question. Okay, why are you doing this? They say, oh, I want to be healthy. Well, but why? What's the reason behind it? What's the driver that's going to keep you going? Yeah, you might have the enthusiasm and motivation now. What's going to keep you going in 6 months' time? In a year's time, in 2 years' time? If something aligns with you, when you connect with it, or connect with the reason behind why you're doing it, then you don't have to think about it. Then you don't have to think about, oh, I've got to go to the gym, or I've got to wake up in the morning and go for my run and stuff like that. It just becomes part of your life because you align with it so much. It is just part of your normal routine.
It becomes your identity.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we said this. I'd like to throw in a book.
Okay.
I don't read many books myself. There's only about 3 I read in my life. And to be honest, this was a cheat. It wasn't even a read. It was an audio book. Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yep.
Yeah. So in that, he talks about identity, and I think the example is something like, there's two people that trying to stop smoking. One of them says they offer him a cigarette. So, would you like a smoke? He said, no, I'm trying to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person says, no, I don't smoke. So it's that identity you create. Are you someone who's struggling to do it, or are you someone who just doesn't do it? So,
it's that shift of mindset.
It's
that
mindset. So, am I someone who's trying to go to the gym, or am I somebody who goes to the gym?
Mm-hmm.
Am I somebody who goes up the stairs?
Yeah.
Or am I a guy who's thinking about it and kind of going, I don't know if I am that person.
Yeah, but understanding your values will help you to shift that mindset from, I'm trying to do this, to I know I'm actually somebody who is doing this, and this is what I want to do. And that's what we work with, is actually, and I'll give you a good example. There was a gentleman who I was working with. He just turned 50. It was an Indian man.
We're laughing because we've had a big discussion about race and
what
how
the
we describe
politically correct terms.
How do we describe people? So,
anyway, I'm going to go with that now. He's an Indian
established
man.
now.
Yeah, he's 50 years old, and he'd been to his own doctors. He was overweight. He knew that he drank too much, and he knew he had high cholesterol and high blood pressure. But he'd just been diagnosed with pre-diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
So pre-diabetes, for anybody that doesn't know, is it's not when you're diabetic, but when your blood sugars are slightly high. So it tells you that your body's not dealing with blood sugar properly, and you are at higher risk of becoming diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to see me. So the biggest question for me is why he's coming to see me now. What this triggered for him, what it meant for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we first started having the discussion, he was like, oh, well, it's obvious, I'm pre-diabetic. I don't, that's kind of worried me a bit. I don't want to become a diabetic. So I need to change something in order to change it. I was like, okay, but what does it really mean for you? Is it the number on the page, or is there something more to it? So when we started going into his story, and he started opening up more, he started talking about his own dad, who had passed away a couple of years ago. And the reason he brought that story up was because his dad was a diabetic. He used to drink a lot, so some of the same patterns that he recognized. And then in his last sort of 10 to 15 years, he'd had 2 or 3 strokes, I think it was. That he always looked at his dad then, who for those last few years of his life, obviously wasn't able to do much, wasn't able to participate in the family much. The biggest thing for him was that he didn't see, he didn't see that his dad was being a bigger part of his own children's lives as a granddad as he wanted him to be. So then obviously this realization for him was that if I keep going down this path, I don't want to be in that same position, because I want to actually enjoy my own children's lives. I've got children who are going to get married. They're obviously finishing university and things like that, and they're going to get married. They're going to have their own children. I want to be a big part of my grandchildren's lives. When he connected with that, that was a huge moment for him.
Yeah, and we did this exercise. I don't know if you remember. You must do.
Yes, we did.
And it's just about, and I said this exercise to somebody recently as well.
Okay.
To project 5, 10 years, whatever, even if you want to project to the end of your life, and really imagine, where would you like to be? How would you have liked to have finished your life? And you're lying on your deathbed.
Yeah.
You've got 10 minutes before the lights are off, and you've had an opportunity to think about how you lived it. Do you want to kind of say, I did all these things, but if I did this, I would have been a bit more active, would have been a bit more whatever. And then with that feeling, come back to now. And now you've got that time to make that decision and aim for that goal that
Absolutely.
you want to go. I've done that, and it probably hasn't lasted long. So I need to sit down and really connect with it, because you're right. I have done it, and you do connect, and then you kind of find some other excuse to get out of it, or you talk yourself out of it somehow. But I think it's quite a powerful thing, that, because it's
I think, because what that helps you to do is, especially if you're kind of looking forwards, is. And if you can kind of see what you value most, and it kind of comes on to purpose as well. You can see what your purpose is and what your values are. Then you can see, actually, what I'm doing now, is that taking me away from that, or is it actually pushing me in the right direction towards it? And if it's not, you'll feel it. You know what I mean? You'll feel, the fear, the anxiety, and all those kind of emotions that actually what I'm doing right now is taking me away from where I want to be. Then you can start to plan, how am I going to get there? And this comes back to what we were talking about earlier. You can't go from, sitting on the couch for 12 hours a day to running a 10K next week. You have to build up to it. But this is where, if in 2 years time, I want to have lost, 3 stone, and you connect with the underlying reasons why, you can be like, okay, if that's my goal, I can now start creating actions towards that. And it might be, like we said earlier, it might be, okay, I'm going to start by walking around the block. Because that might be all I can do. And then, then you want to review it, in a few weeks' time, but actually reflect on it. Like we said, is that kind of mindfulness about it. And when you reflect on it, you want to feel, okay, what are all the benefits that I've got from this? Do you know what I mean? And it's not just the fact that, yes, I went out ticking the box, I've managed to do that, but it's, how does it make you feel? How did it make you feel physically? I feel like it could be, I feel like I've got more energy throughout the day. I'm not falling asleep at my desk at work because I feel more energetic. I've got more time to spend, or I've got more energy now to play with the kids, which I didn't have before. So all of these things you want to kind of reflect on and kind of bring in all the positives from what you've done. And that's going to help you then look at the next step and say, okay, if I can do this, and I've I feel really confident now that I've managed to do this part of my goal. What's the next step? And that's kind of the way to kind of introduce and kind of build this physical activity into your daily routine.
And I'm sure it's still from Atomic Habits, but I think he discusses in there that if you can't, it's fair enough you have a goal, but if your goal, sometimes you may have set your goal something that's unachievable. If I say I'm gonna drop two stone by the end of the month, end of the year, whatever, and you're not getting close to it, you're going to give up.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's to talk about smart targets, it's something that you can achieve.
Absolutely.
But also, if once you're on that track, the goal disappears, I think, because it's the journey and the thing you're doing, the new lifestyle you've adapted to becomes the achievement. It's not about the end result. If you said to me, you're going to run 10K next year, once I start getting into that practice mode and start running, I'm going to become a runner.
Yeah, absolutely.
And after
and
that
it's not
10K,
about the 10K anymore.
Yeah, the 10K, it ain't going to be after 10K, all right, finished, and let's do a Lord of the Rings marathon now. Let's, it's going to be, that's me now. I'm a runner. I'm going to keep on running. Yeah. I'm not doing it, by the way.
I'd like to do the Lord of the Rings one. I've seen that.
No, I was on about the Lord of the Rings TV marathon. What are you on about?
Oh, I thought there was an actual
Lord of the Rings run.
Yeah.
Mate, I'd do that.
I've seen the medal. It looked really cool.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I've seen that ad when you get a medal for something and it's like a bit of a.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I saw something fake. I was going to sign up for something.
Maybe you just run on eBay.
That's true. Run around Mordor.
But no, I think getting into that lifestyle of whatever your change is it's the process, not the
absolutely.
Not the
and you touched on making it's got to be a smart goal. But that means that you have to look at it again holistically. So just say, for example, let's use running for an example. Okay, I want to start running. It's being realistic about, okay, I'm not going to be able to run 2 miles tomorrow if I've never run before. I need to set a realistic target. Okay, how long am I going to do this, this action for before I review it? Then thinking, okay, now I've got to fit it into my life because I don't want it to become a chore. I don't want it to become frustrating. So how is it going to fit in? When am I going to have the time to do this? So it's thinking about when is it going to fit in more naturally, without having to sort of being in conflict with other parts of your life. So that's what setting a goal is really important. So it's not just saying I'm going to do this. It's actually really looking deeply into how you're going to go about this goal.
Practical.
It's got to be
pragmatic about it.
Absolutely. So hopefully that's given you some ideas on how to incorporate physical activity into daily life. Obviously, so we've talked about, just kind of in summary, kind of what physical activity is, what physical inactivity is, and why that's not great for our health.
I know that one. Yeah.
And we talked about kind of, obviously, from our own sort of lives, the kinds of things we like doing and don't like doing, and we've come across some of the challenges and barriers that we've kind of both faced, and then sort of practically how important it is not just to exercise, as we say, it's making physical activity a part of your daily routine, a part of your identity, and how we can do that through sort of identifying with what it means to us, and then kind of aligning our goals with that.
Brilliant. I want to just do a quick shout out for the Atomic Habits book. It was Jags Climax who pointed me into that. He recommended that book to me.
Yeah.
He spoke very highly of it, and it's a really good book. If you haven't heard of it or you haven't read it, you don't have to read it. You can listen to it. Please go out and listen. It's a really good read.
It is a really good book, and it is about, like we just said, it's incremental steps to making your whichever goals you've got. It's just doing things incrementally and making them part of your normal habits. So yeah, it's a really good book. And actually, if you don't have time to read the book, have you seen the app called Headspace?
Yeah.
So basically, these are kind of books summarized into 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it basically gives you all the key points in a 15-minute audiobook.
There you go. Save yourself some time.
Yeah, great listening to it on a car journey.
Yeah, but I think with that book, go and read.
Yeah, obviously. There's nothing like
maybe
actually,
as a taster, you can kind of get an idea of certain books.
I use it as actually, because I've read the book. I use it as just something to kind of keep reminding you of the key points in it. So obviously, having read the book, every now and again I will listen to that that 15 minutes, and it will kind of just bring back those kind of key points again. So yeah,
it's focus, isn't it? A lot of things is focus. You can lose focus very easily. As I said, maybe a lot of things we would like to do, but we lose focus on it, and it goes at the back. Yeah. Just need to bring it back.
Cool. So yeah, hope you've really enjoyed this discussion. I've enjoyed it. You, Jat?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can see actually how important physical activity is. Hopefully you may have related to some of the challenges that we kind of all face when we're thinking about being physically active, but also learned some ways that we can kind of sort of get around these and kind of really incorporate activity into our lives. Okay, so we'll close there.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to say is thank you for listening. Can I set up a challenge? What are your challenges? What are your barriers? Give yourself some of that time to reflect, have a look at what's stopping you from doing this, and incorporate them little, as you said, them little changes, the atomic little habit that you can put in to get you onto track.
Yeah, and have a think about your values as well. So when you're thinking about being more active in whichever way, actually think more deeply about the reason you're doing it, and when you start doing it, keep bringing that back up. What's the underlying reason I'm doing this? And then the more you kind of do that, and we say it becomes a habit, then you'll find that it becomes more sustainable.
Brilliant.
Okay. So yeah, if you enjoyed that podcast, then please like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, you can message us on Instagram, which is at the.mindfulmixtape.podcast.
You looked at me like I know I don't know.
Or you could contact us by email at the mindfulmixtape@gmail.com, or on our YouTube channel, which is at the Mindful Mixtape Podcast.
Yeah, brilliant. So we did release our first episode.
Yes, we did.
It went online, and I think officially now we are podcasters. I think
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you can add that to your title.
So yeah, podcasts are available on Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google,
and Audible. And I think there's probably some other channels, smaller ones that you could probably find out. Let's just call it an all good digital podcast platforms.
So on all of those, especially those big ones, if you just go search the Mindful Mixtape Podcast, then you're sure to find us. Excellent. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for your time, Ranj.
Thank you, Jati. It's been a great discussion. Really enjoyed it. And to you as well. And we look forward to you joining us again for our next episode.
See you later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mindful Mixtape with your hosts Dr. Ranj Sagu and Jati Chi.